My son and his wife have hated me for 17 years. My husband has already passed away, and with no one to consult, I've just endured it all. At first, I tried to advise my son and daughter-in-law about finding work, but each time, I was met with violence, so eventually, I stopped trying altogether. For me, my grandson, Ethan, was precious, and raising him was the only meaning in my life. But now, he's graduated from high school and is leaving home. So, I made the decision to leave the house without telling my son and daughter-in-law, and with a heavy heart, I moved to a new place. And I resolved to spend the rest of my life alone. Then, I received a call from Ethan. "Congratulations on your high school graduation."
Congratulations on your graduation, Grandma.
For someone like me who has struggled continuously, those words were more than anything else. They made me feel like I was finally rewarded. But it wasn't just that. Not only me, but Ethan also had a plan, and because of that, I was going to be saved. I'm Kayla. I lost my husband 12 years ago, and now, at the age of 59, I'm still working as an employee of a small company. To be honest, continuing to work with my aging body is quite tough, but there's a reason I have to keep working. At home, there are my son Kenny, his wife Tara, and their son Ethan. Kenny's behavior wasn't very good, perhaps due to my parenting. He started going downhill in middle school, managed to get into high school somehow, but troubles with teachers and classmates never ceased. Furthermore, during his last year of high school, he had dating with Tara, who was 2 years younger and always hanging out at the amusement arcade, and unbelievably, she got pregnant. By the time I realized it, it was already too late, and there was nothing we could do. On the day the pregnancy was revealed, Kenny and Tara told me about it, and I felt dizzy from the shock. I knew that high schoolers getting pregnant was something that could happen in dramas or stories, but I never thought my own son would do such a thing. Even my husband, who was alive at the time, got furious at our son's selfish actions, and ended up in a physical fight. Because my husband was a strict person, he probably couldn't forgive our son's disgraceful behavior even more. He would have understood that he felt he had failed in his upbringing as well. From that time on, he threw himself into work excessively and started drinking heavily, which eventually shortened his lifespan. I went to apologize to Tara's parents, but they seemed to be having trouble dealing with her too, and they declared they didn't want to be involved anymore, cutting ties with her. As a result, Tara, who had nowhere else to go, naturally ended up living in my house. Even after Ethan was born, they didn't attempt to move out. And they lived a life where they would casually go out and play until late at night, then come back and ask me for money. At first, I wanted them to have a sense of responsibility as adults. Regardless of the circumstances, I felt that since we had become a family, we should support each other, and above all, I couldn't let go of the hope that they would become respectable adults. But no matter how much I tried to advise them, they not only turned a deaf ear, but also sometimes resorted to verbal abuse, and in extreme cases, even violence. As such incidents continued to occur, I became more afraid of them resorting to violence than trying to persuade them. Honestly, I felt like I was a failure as a mother. However, with no one else to turn to for advice, my mind was filled with just wanting to get through each day without any problems. So, they never made any effort to work for a living, and even if they took on part-time jobs, they never lasted long. Because of their lazy nature, they obviously couldn't raise Ethan properly, and ended up practically abandoning their parenting duties. So, I became like a parent to Ethan, and raised him. Children are indeed adorable, and just thinking of Ethan's face gave me the strength to keep going even in the busiest times. And perhaps there was also a sense of atonement. Because I couldn't raise Kenny properly, I wished for Ethan to live happily. Ethan seemed to understand my feelings, as he turned out to be an amazingly easygoing and obedient child. And when it came to the school holidays, I went on a trip with Ethan to Arizona. Why Arizona? Because I had loved the Grand Canyon since I was a child. No matter how much the times may change, whenever I see the Grand Canyon, which continues to stand magnificently unchanged, I feel like I gain some power myself. Since my husband died, I was worried about whether I would be able to live a long life. If I were to leave this world before Ethan grew up, I worried about who would take care of him, so I wanted to live at least until he became an adult. That's why I hope to live a healthy and long life by drawing strength from the Grand Canyon. I took Ethan there several times, and he also seemed to have grown fond of the Grand Canyon. Whenever he had the chance, he would pester me to take him to that spot where you can see the Grand Canyon. Thanks to the power of the Grand Canyon, I managed to take care of Ethan without falling seriously ill. Since my son and his wife still didn't take care of their parenting responsibilities, I participated in school events like kindergarten drop-offs and pickups, sports days, and parent-teacher meetings. Because my son and his wife hardly participated, the teachers at school even mistook me for Ethan's parent. Taking care of my grandson while working was certainly tough, but Ethan never misbehaved like Kenny, and he always seemed fond of me. However, Kenny's attitude towards me worsened year by year.
Hey, I'm going out to hang with friends, give me some money.
No, that's for living expenses.
Shut up, old woman. Don't back-talk to me.
When I refused, Kenny resorted to physical violence.
Hey, make a dinner now. What are you doing, slacking off?
After preparing dinner, you can rest.
Even if I had just returned from work, they wouldn't do any housework and wouldn't listen to me. Hey, why don't I teach you how to cook, and then you can try making it yourself? I said to Tara.
Absolutely not. Why should I do that? You do it.
She said with a disgusted expression, and just spat it out. Basically, to them, I'm neither a parent nor anything like that. I'm just a convenient maid who earns money and takes care of the housework. When I understood that's how they saw me, I felt really sad. It was so far from the family life I had imagined, and Kenny's callous attitude was really tough to bear. One day,
Well, Ethan's so lucky. He's properly taken care of.
while I was playing with Ethan, Kenny suddenly said, in a deliberately loud voice, so that I could hear, "What are you talking about? I've been taking care of you properly." I counted, puzzled by his words. Then, Kenny slammed the table and started shouting.
Well, why do I have to live such a miserable life then?
I didn't understand what Kenny was saying, so I remained silent, but his anger didn't subside.
It's all your fault. If you had raised me properly, I wouldn't have gotten Tara pregnant.
Tara, who was listening nearby, had a bewildered expression.
No, wait. That's nonsense. You were the one who seduced me. What are you talking about now?
Kenny didn't like Tara's words, so he suddenly slapped her face. Tara covered her face and crouched on the floor, bursting into tears. "Hey, Kenny, there's no need to hit her."
Shut up. It's all your fault. Because of you, nothing goes right for me at work.
Even when I tried to warn him, he just kept shouting, refusing to listen at all. This was a common occurrence with Kenny, and each time, I was blamed for everything. However, even when Kenny yelled at me like that, I didn't get angry. Instead, I ended up feeling sad. I might have made him feel lonely by being preoccupied with my work. Looking back, I had that awareness. However, blaming others wouldn't change the course of my life. Maybe it was because he had excess energy when he was young. Kenny could vent his dissatisfaction with life outside. However, as he aged and lost his friends to hang out with, coupled with declining physical strength, Kenny's pent-up frustrations found their way to me. It was on a cold winter day. I returned home late due to overtime work. I opened the front door while warming my freezing hands with my breath. As I entered the living room, Kenny was sitting on the sofa, glaring at me. "I'm home, sorry I'm a bit late." However, without saying anything, Kenny approached me, snatched my bag, and slammed it onto the floor. "What are you doing?"
Just make dinner right now.
"What?"
I said I'm hungry, so make some food.
Feeling tired from work, I got annoyed by Kenny's attitude. "Don't act like a child, just make it yourself." But there's no point in expecting remorse from him after saying that. Kenny's eyes hardened at my words. He grabbed my arm and started dragging me towards the front door. "Stop it, that hurts." Without a word, Kenny opened the front door and tossed me outside. "Hey!" I yelled, but the door was closed and locked without any response. Since the house keys were in my bag, I couldn't get inside. "Please, just open the door," I pleaded as I knocked on the front door. Suddenly, the door swung open. My relief was short-lived as Kenny splashed a bucket of water at me. "It's freezing, what are you doing?" The coldness was so intense that I thought my heart might stop for a moment.
How's that? Cold enough for you. Serves you right.
At that moment, Ethan came running from inside the house.
Dad, what are you doing?
He questioned, clearly upset.
Shut up. Stay out of this.
Despite Kenny's yelling, Ethan didn't back down. Watching this scene unfold, I recalled a similar incident from the past. Back then, Kenny had scolded Ethan, splashed water on him, and locked him out of the house. When I returned from work, I found Ethan shivering outside the front door, and I helped him. I didn't want him to go through such a painful experience again. It's okay, Ethan, it's not your fault. Ethan clenched his fists, looking frustrated. Meanwhile, Kenny looked down on me, smirking cruelly.
That's right. It's all your fault. So you apologize to me. If you don't, I won't open the door until morning.
My body trembled not only from the cold, but also from an overwhelming sense of humiliation. However, I knew that being stubborn wouldn't change anything. Kenny would probably really leave me outside. For the sake of raising Ethan, I had no choice but to endure and apologize. I'm very sorry, I said, almost choking the words out as I sat on the cold concrete. Pebbles dug into my knees, and the coldness seeping through robbed my wet body of its warmth. Kenny chuckled satisfactorily and put his foot on the back of my head.
That's right, that's good enough. Now, hurry up and make dinner.
He laughing as he went back into the living room. Soon after, Ethan rushed over.
Grandma, hang in there. You need to warm up right away.
He said, supporting my body. This kind of thing was not uncommon at all. Even if I tried to resist, it was clear that my elderly body would be overwhelmed. Still, the reason I kept the two of them at home was because of the lingering guilt of not raising them properly. However, every time I was subjected to violence, I couldn't help but feel pathetic, and I wondered how long this kind of life would continue. Moreover, every time I heard news of elderly parents being harmed by their sons, I felt a sense of fear, as if I were being shown my own future. So, I determined that Ethan leaving home would mark the end of this lifestyle. And it came sooner than I thought. When Ethan, now a last-year high school student, approached me for a discussion.
Grandma, I've decided not to go to college and instead start working after I graduate.
I was surprised by my grandson's sudden announcement. Is that so? But is that really okay? If you want to go to college, we can figure something out. Even when I said that, Ethan shook his head sadly.
I'm glad you say that. But Grandma, you're retired, right? And Dad's like that. But don't worry, I'm not sacrificing myself.
Ethan's words made my heart ache with sadness. If only I had been stronger. If only Kenny had worked like everyone else. I wouldn't have let Ethan go through this. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I apologized to Ethan, tears streaming down my face with regret. Fortunately, Ethan's job hunt went smoothly, and he secured a position at a company in Los Angeles. And since he was going to move into an apartment near the office, Ethan would leave this house as soon as the graduation ceremony was over. Regarding that matter, it seemed that my son and his wife were not particularly concerned. Ever since I heard about Ethan, I had been secretly planning and executing my plan. The day before Ethan's graduation ceremony, as I was getting ready, Kenny brought it up.
Hey, tomorrow's the graduation, and we're going.
Why?
Why? Because he's our son, isn't it obvious?
Indeed, there was no problem. However, it felt strange that Kenny, who had never properly taken care of childcare and never participated in school events, suddenly wanted to attend. Still, it would be odd to refuse their attendance for that reason. Fine, then, let's all go together. As I suggested that, Tara chuckled.
What are you saying? You don't have to come?
She said it coldly. Why not? Why can't I come? I didn't understand their reasoning, so I insisted.
Well, you see, graduation ceremonies are quite a big deal. So, I want to dress up nicely and go?
That's fine, but why can't I go?
Because you'll be in the way.
Why would I be in the way?
Listen, they'll take photos, right? And then you'll be in them too. Got it? It would ruin a good photo to have an old lady like you in it.
Tara's unreasonable argument made me angry. If they wanted to celebrate Ethan's graduation without me, I would quietly step aside. But Tara was dismissing me just to satisfy her own need for approval. I've never received a word of thanks from my son and his wife. It's not like I need such words, but I at least wanted to celebrate Ethan's new beginning. Please, I really want to attend his graduation ceremony.
Yo, I know. I didn't go to my high school graduation ceremony because of you. All because of you.
Exactly. You're really shameless. Consider your age and act accordingly, won't you?
I gave up trying to convince them there. If I kept arguing, the next thing would be ruthless violence. So, I had no choice but to suppress my feelings and back down.
Grandma.
Ethan said, his face contorted in sadness. It's okay, Kenny's right after all. Grandma should stay at home. And then, the day of the graduation ceremony arrived. As soon as the ceremony was over, Ethan would board a plane and head to the company in Los Angeles, where he would move into the apartment. And since I'm also advancing with my plans, today might be the last time I see them in my life.
Grandma, I'm off.
Take care, all right. And then, my son, his wife, and Ethan left the house. After seeing them off, I immediately made a call. Thank you for always helping us. I have a change of plans. Since my son and his wife are away, I'd like to move my belongings now. Is that possible? Thank you very much. As soon as I hung up the phone, I started preparing for the move. A few tens of minutes later, when the moving company arrived at the house, I handed over the essentials and left the house myself. Yes, just like Ethan, I was starting to prepare to graduate from this life. I've already informed the company, and the new place is also ready. I really wanted to tell Ethan, but I couldn't bring myself to do it because I didn't know how Kenny would find out. If my departure became known, my son and his wife would never forgive me. It's because I'll lose both the money and the housekeeper at the same time. Originally, I had planned to move out when Ethan finished his graduation ceremony and my son and his wife were away. However, since they left unexpectedly, I saw it as an opportunity. While I did have some regrets about Ethan, I believed he could manage well on his own. I thought I could handle my own situation by sending a letter. That's why I decided to take care of myself. And my plan worked out well. Without being noticed by the two of them, I was able to move to my new place safely. It's located right near that spot in Arizona where you can see Grand Canyon well. Since I was going to live alone anyway, I had always wanted to live while looking at Grand Canyon until the end of my life. But that wasn't the extent of my plan. As I was taking a breather in my new place, Kenny called me. "What's up? Is the graduation ceremony over already?"
Don't play dumb.
Over the phone, Kenny is yelling angrily.
When I got home earlier, the real estate company showed up and told us to get out of the house. What's going on?
Just as they said, I put the house up for sale. Luckily, they found a buyer quickly, so you guys should move out soon.
Why are you selling our house? Have you lost your mind or something?
It's to graduate. I've already moved out myself, so deal with the rest yourselves. Yes, I was not only moving out, but also putting my own house up for sale. Even if I left the house, I was worried that my son and his wife would continue their lazy lifestyle as long as they lived there. Despite receiving such terrible treatment, somewhere deep down, I hadn't given up hope that Kenny would become independent. However, I realized that wouldn't happen as things were, so I decided to put them in a crisis situation. That way, Kenny would have no choice but to work for his own livelihood, and Tara would naturally start supporting him. Will my plan actually work? At this stage, I don't know. Still, it should be better than continuing to live in the same place forever. But it seems Kenny hasn't realized my intentions. He's still complaining over the phone.
So now you're suddenly giving up on your son. Are you even a parent anymore?
I've graduated from being a parent.
Don't spout nonsense. What about the money? You sold the house, right? Where did that money go?
I got all that money for my retirement funds. Finally understanding his own situation, Kenny starts crying pitifully.
Mom, I messed up. I'm really sorry for what I did. So please don't abandon me. It's too late for me to get a job now.
Upon hearing my son's feeble words through the phone, my heart wavered for a moment. But I quickly composed myself and hardened my heart. I'm not blaming you for what you've done. I also feel like I've made you lonely. That's why I want you to become independent. I'm getting old.
Well, at least tell me where you moved to. It's not fair that we can't even meet. I won't ask you for money, just tell me.
No, I can't trust your words. Just live happily with Tara. That's all I can say to you.
Mom.
This is the last time we'll talk. Make Tara happy. Goodbye. With those words, I hung up the phone. I set Kenny's calls to be blocked, turned off my phone, and lay down on the floor. Outside, it was already getting dark. The colors of the sunset streaming through the curtains are painting the white ceiling with a faint peach hue. As I gaze up at that ceiling alone, I let out a deep sigh. A mix of relief that everything went well, guilt for abandoning my son and his wife, and loneliness from being all alone floods over me. Memories start flowing naturally in my mind, almost like they are being projected onto the white ceiling like a screen. These include the first time I met my husband, the day Kenny was born, the day Tara came into our home, the day my husband passed away, and the memories with Ethan. I got myself up off the floor and headed for my bedroom. There, my husband's portrait is placed. It's going to be just the two of us from now on. I sat down in front of it and muttered. Then, time passes, and Christmas holidays arrives. As usual, working as a full-time employee, I ended up extending my employment at the company as recommended, so it looks like I'll be working for a while longer. Although I had originally wanted to quit my job and take it easy, thinking about my retirement life, I wanted to earn as much money as possible and keep some social connections. However, when I didn't have work, I was always living quietly alone. Today, in preparation for my vacation, I headed to the market near my house to buy groceries. It used to be the place where Ethan and I often looked at Grand Canyon. Now, due to its convenient location, it had become a local market and park. After finishing shopping and gazing at Grand Canyon, I suddenly received a call from an unknown number. I hesitated for a moment whether to answer, but I decided to pick up. Hello.
Hello, Grandma. It's me, Ethan.
Hi, Ethan. What's up? I exclaimed, surprised to the point of startling myself with my own loud voice. Since Ethan didn't have a cell phone back then, he shouldn't know my phone number.
I got one right after I started working. I made sure to jot down your number because I definitely wanted to call you.
I'm sorry for leaving without saying anything.
No, I knew about it. I happened to overhear you talking to the real estate agent. I thought it wasn't good, but I found the documents you were hiding and wrote down the details.
Really, I had no idea, but I'm glad. I've been worried about him for so long, I admitted, feeling relieved to hear Ethan's voice after such a long time. So, since you're calling now, does that mean you're already on vacation from work?
Yay, that's why I came to hang out.
What? As I was about to ask Ethan what was going on, I suddenly felt a tap on my shoulder, causing me to turn around in surprise. There stood Ethan, with a wide grin on his face.
Grandma, long time no see.
I was so surprised. How did you know I was here? With a proud expression, Ethan replied to my question.
I went to the address you wrote down, but you weren't there. But I just had a feeling you'd be here. Remember how you used to bring me here all the time? The surroundings have changed a lot, though.
Yay, that's right. You're right. But if you knew, you should have told me beforehand. It would be a shame if you came all the way from Los Angeles and couldn't find me.
No, I'm not working in Los Angeles. I just said that to trick my parents. I'm actually working in Arizona.
Really? Then you were actually living nearby. Ethan continued to look pleased.
That's right. You've been struggling because of me, Grandma. So, from now on, I want to repay you even a little.
No, it wasn't a struggle at all. Raising Ethan brought me so much happiness. I said, feeling overwhelmed by Ethan's kindness. Though life had been tough until now, it felt like all the sacrifices made for Ethan were finally paying off.
I'd love to spend more time with you, Grandma, whenever I have time off. Let's go see Grand Canyon together again.
Yes, let's do that. As we chatted together, my grandson and I, it felt like Grand Canyon was quietly watching over us. From then on, whenever Ethan had time off, he stayed at my house, and we had a wonderful time together. It was truly enjoyable, especially since I couldn't have moments like these before due to the harassment from my son and daughter-in-law. I had thought I would spend my retirement lonely and isolated, but suddenly, it felt like a whole new world had opened up before me. Instead of just waiting for time to pass while cooped up at home, I actively engaged with my neighbors. Thanks to that effort, I made new friends, and each day became even more enjoyable. I heard about my son and daughter-in-law's situation through an old acquaintance. They may not be wealthy, but they seem to be managing to live on their own, which gives me some peace of mind for now. Today, as always, I plan to go to the place where I can see Grand Canyon with Ethan. Despite the challenges along the way, I am grateful to finally have peaceful days and enjoy life to the fullest.